Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Virginia, aka Orange Zeppelin, and I just noticed last night that I was at 300 subscribers, so if you are watching this and you are subbed, thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around. I appreciate you all. What I am sharing here today, this thick beast, is the Hobonichi 5-year journal. I've already done several videos on this journal. As the name implies, this is a journal that will last for 5 years, and I'm going to try really hard not to make this video like 17 hours long by talking about absolutely every page. And a lot of things I have already talked about in previous years' videos. I have another journal video on the way. I'm gonna do a separate video for the other journaling projects because, again, I don't want this video to be 17 hours long. And if you've watched my previous installment of this series, you'll know that I mostly write my journal in Scottish Gaelic or Gaelic, which I have been learning kind of on and off over the last 4 years. I've been, unfortunately, a little bit stagnant on my Gaelic. I want to fix that because Gaelic is freaking cool. It is not easy. It's grammar and spelling from the people who invented whiskey. It is not an easy language, but it is very cool, and I do think writing even a little bit every day is a really good way to practice and to just keep using what you know, even if you are stagnating. So what I am going to focus on in this video is talking mostly about the materials that I use in this journal, what I find works well, what I've noticed issues with, and generally what I journal about. You'll see me write about the weather a lot because that is one of those things I am good at writing, but I generally like to write positive things I am working on, things going on at work. I was just talking in this entry, I was talking about how I was a little bit slow at work that day. Weather wasn't as wet as I was thinking it was going to be. I'm having hot chocolate and painting. It was a good night. And I don't like to write things that are negative at all. I like how this page turned out. This I did very recently. You can see that because this is my 5th year, we are getting onto that very bottom of the page. Actually, let me show you what I've been doing, because it's a little bit hard right now to write in my journal like that. I have been clipping the page like that, and then I'll put this other journal here, and that gives me a little more of a surface to write on. Which I had to do the opposite of that at the end of last year. I was like clipping this. But this spread actually kind of is on topic of what I was saying about what I like to document. This is my character in Pokemon Moon, along with my favorite Pokemon, Absol. I like to write about what I'm doing in video games, things I'm reading, and not really talk about, like, if I'm not in the greatest mood that day, which sometimes I'll mention that, because so the way my brain works is I tend to hold on to negativity way too easily. I need to not do that. Sometimes I will note if I'm frustrated with something, or you will see some Gaelic profanity used for a particularly rough day at work. Though I do think it would be a good idea to write a little more of the negative, because I did have a tetanus scare last year, and I don't remember when it was, and that would have maybe been useful to write about. But what I do, I'll mention if I got sick. So here's today's entry that I haven't written yet, and I bring that up for a reason, because we are coming up on something that happens pretty much every single January. I'm really hoping I skipped it. I got sick for like 2 days last month and then was fine, but each fucking year I get sick around exactly the same time. It will line up basically on the same day. Every single January, like clockwork, it's all the questionable food, drinking choices that have happened over the holidays. They all hit my immune system like a freight train on the 11th. This would be a good place to talk about materials. I think I did this all with Tombow markers. I think I've got some interesting textural things happening. This might have been watercolors and Tombow markers, which with the watercolors, I'll have to find a good page as an example of that. I did a lot more collaging in my journal in the last couple years. It added a lot of bulk. That's why this thing is now a gigantic brick, because there's a lot of collage and sticker elements. I hate it when I do this, when I accidentally close my journal too fast and smear everything. This particular ink, this is one of my favorite ink colors, and you just really have to be patient with it. You gotta leave your journal open, let it do the thing. This was a nice illustration because I actually went out into the world and drew that on site. This was for last year, Year of the Wood Snake in the Chinese zodiac, and the wood snake is associated largely, this is like a planning and strategy kind of year. We're coming into the year of the fire horse, which is about explosive energy and action, and I think that is very auspicious considering some of the plans that I have for this upcoming, the current year, but the Lunar New Year obviously is kicking in on, I think it's February 2nd. My first year, I did a little bit of Skyrim journaling, and I'm just very excited because we got my mom Skyrim for the Switch, and so she's playing it for the very first time. Here's another collage spread. Usually I was really good about writing which year I did these collages on. I'm pretty sure this was last year that I did that collage. This was a really nice painting session. So I did not paint this one on site, but I had gone out to get some coffee and a blueberry muffin, and then I ate it in this spot, took a photo, went home and painted it, and then I had turned around and taken a photo of what was behind me, and so that is that shot right there. This, I think it was Tombow markers, and this is what I wanted to bring up in the context of watercolor. If you're too heavy-handed with watercolor, and then if you're too heavy-handed with a water-based marker, you might get a little bit of bleed through from the ink on the other side. Not every ink is doing this, but you can see some spots where just going through and doing a painting has made the other ink bleed through. So that is something that I was noticing a lot this year. Even there, you can see I had some bleed through. This was my leap year spread. Gotta make it count. This I did at work. I had gone for a walk and then took a photo of a little spot, and then it was a very slow day and I had time to goof off and do a little bit of painting. I have found a way to paint at every job that I have had. This is something I made a little note here on the years. I did the initial drawing in 2023, and then I added a little more to the drawing last year. This is actually Simon Bisley's birthday. He is my favorite artist, so I wanted to draw something that had his kind of energy. This is another piece I did where I took a photo while I was on my walk, on my break walk, and I might have started it at work, and I think I finished it at home. I think I did it over a couple of sessions. I really like how this turned out. This is actually something I want to do more of. So there is a game called Mario Picross that's basically like a little puzzle game where you're trying to create a picture, and everything is in these like pixel squares, and I thought that works really well with the squares on the paper. So I wanted to do a little more like pixel art, Picross kind of art. I did some McDonald's journaling. I don't eat that much fast food. We rarely eat at McDonald's, so if I eat McDonald's, I'm a journal about it. It is an event. This was the Shamrock Shake, our traditional St. Patrick's Day cuisine. My grandma Virginia was a very healthy woman, much like me, did not really eat fast food, but she did like the Shamrock Shake, and she would get one every year. So I think that is a acceptable indulgence. I had, this is actual St. Patrick's Day, and I started out like, I'm gonna draw something, paint something, and then I didn't come up with what I wanted to actually do, so this is just sitting here as a suggestion for my last year. Like, you could put something right there. I'll come up with something. Speaking of putting something there, I do have, you'll see I have a ton of these blank pages. I might have actually skipped past a lot of my pages that didn't have anything super interesting, because, again, trying not to make this as a 17-hour long video. This day is the anniversary of the release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. So this would be a really good... Doing some kind of Gen 3 Pokemon spread right here would be fun, because that's what I actually did here. This is a location in the Gen 3 games. Oh, I want to talk about this one, because you can definitely see... I'm actually not sure what kind of marker I used. It might have been a Tombow marker, but now I'm thinking it wasn't. You can see where it kind of bled through. I'll have to figure out, like this year, how am I going to work this black fuzz into whatever I'm doing that day. This spread here, so I had accidentally missed that day in 2024. So in 2025, I just took up all of this space, and then I remember I did this spread. These are a couple of characters from Dragon Ball. I did a pretty significantly long bike ride. This is like my fun celebratory art piece. And now we got some positive motivational messages. That is the energy I like to have in my journal. And that goes back to what I like to journal about. I'd like to remember cool things I've done, because I genuinely might completely forget about things I've done. Or I might forget that, oh, I made lemon cupcakes on that day. I want to remember that. I don't know what the hell was going on at work, because there's profanity, and then there's profanity. Apparently I made a lot of money and said I was going to buy some whiskey. That must have been a day. This is from 2024. This was also on a lunch break, but I did actually paint it on site. This is kind of close to where I work, and I just picked a spot and painted. I want to do that again. The more I fill this up, the more precious this becomes, and the more nervous I am to bring it with me anywhere. So I don't want it getting banged up in my backpack. I'll bring it with me if I go to a cafe or somewhere, but I don't know, bringing it to work just makes me more nervous now. This spread, I like how this turned out. This is, I bought myself a bottle of Glenfiddich 12. Actually, let me show you guys. So here, this was like a limited edition design. The bottle has long since been consumed, but I kept the container because it looked really cool. So that was my inspiration for this spread here. This is interesting. I don't know, or I don't remember what pen I used here that resulted in there being like 3 different colors happening. I think I had a little bit of bleed somewhere, and so I must have used like a Posca pen or something to draw over that and fix it. I don't know, that is very strange. This is my Beltane spread, the Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man, not the crappy one that had Nicolas Cage in it, like the good one from the 70s. That's my favorite movie. One of my favorite movies. We don't talk about the Nicolas Cage one. This is actually something I did in it was the very, very first year. And all of my early illustrations are pretty simple because I wasn't quite sure how much the paper could handle at that point. I love this collage. That's Shea Gorath, our boy, our man, our guy, our homie, as he appears in Skyrim. This started a trend I went on in this journal, or this year in this journal, where I would take a random comment I had heard in a video or something and just, it becomes a whole spread. This, I think, might be my favorite spread. There's a lot of spreads I really like. This, I'm just very happy with how this turned out. I was reading a Star Wars novel at the time. So this is Boba Fett's ship, Slave One, and it started mostly just on this side of the page when I did it back in 2023. And then the last couple years, I've been just adding a few more details, spreading it out over here. I think it's just one of the most complete looking spreads. I also really like how this turned out. I was playing Dragon Quest Builders 2, and so I drew a little spot on my island. This right here is mostly a sticker that I drew some slimes on top of. Some more little paintings. I remember I drew this one at work and I was so tired that I spelled cupcakes wrong. That was definitely a day. My job it's not really seasonal, but where I work, it gets extremely busy once the summertime rolls around. Right now it's actually been pretty good at work, actually. It's not been completely dead. But summertime, it's basically just a war zone. I don't know what this means. I don't understand it. It must be art. Gotta make sure everybody sees the cool Christopher Lee. This is one of my Chow in Sonic Adventure 2. We got Vegeta, my man. I'm trying so hard not to just talk about every single spread in here. This actually, okay, so it's this texture right here on this collage spread I did. When I went in here with colored pencils, it picked up that texture, and that actually ended up really cool. It's like a very interesting background for my wretched Sphinx cat. Now here is the beauty of the 5-year planners. We can see trends come and go in society, and I can look at the date and remember, oh yes, this is when the Labubu craze was full force, and I had people coming into work asking if I have Labubu, and in my brain I'm like, I beg your finest pardon, what the hell does that even mean? And then unfortunately I became intimately acquainted with Labubus. Now if you like Labubus, that is okay. I am happy for you. I wish they weren't stupidly expensive. Well, they're definitely not anymore because the great Labubu crash has occurred. But if you wanted a Labubu, I don't think you should have had to pay $80 or whatever for them. That was... We had them in the shop, and that was just a complete and utter nightmare to deal with. This one I do remember drawing at work. This is Toxel. He's one of the newer Pokemon. I kind of don't know what the hell is going on in Pokemon anymore. I'm getting old. Getting too old for this. Okay, let me explain here. I collaged this from a completely different meme. This is Kyriakos Grizzly, and he is a renowned... Let me pull that off. There we go. He is a famous Greek strongman, known for the fact that he is a very, very round man, but he's also ridiculously strong. I cannot articulate enough how cartoonishly powerful this man is. I did not actually add in the Karami hood. That was already part of the meme. But you know what? Be strong. Make yourself proud. This is the energy I wanted to... I had something to say. I don't know. I got some more Pokemon art. I have a lot of gaps that I'm going to need to fill in the coming year. I don't know what the hell happened that day. My melody is just actively sobbing. I was just tired and sore and grumpy, and I wrote it on the wrong day. I wonder if that was the day the person with the live rat on their shoulder, like, picked a fight over Labubus. That was an experience. That was an experience. I know I drew that one at work. This is actually kind of a companion piece to a painting I was working on at the time. I might slap that in over here. I just did some sketches that were kind of adjacent to what I was working on. That was a rough day to be a metalhead. That was a rough day. I've got another Aussie tribute in here somewhere. I love how this spread turned out. That was one of my proudest spreads. This actually, so these are the lyrics to the song Planet Caravan by Black Sabbath. So this was the Aussie tribute that I did in my journal, and I did some other art outside as well. This is my work anniversary, and I remember the other year celebrating it by eating a big sloppy hot dog, because I think that is a good way to celebrate. Got little Prince Handsome here. It is very difficult not to just have something to say about every single page. I want to do more of these what I did in a day kind of comics. That was a day. That was a work day. What a fucking day is how I started that entry. Actually, wait a minute. There's what a fucking day, and it was chaos, and then that happened again. Oh, God, I don't even remember. What could have possibly happened on that day that would have been worse than... Okay, I take back what I said at the beginning of the video of, oh, I only write positive things and everything's sunshine and happiness. I have, like, Gallic profanity. I'm talking about how I needed a drink. I feel like mostly I just have a lot of focus on, oh, there's Animal Crossing characters, and I have Karami stickers, and everything's wonderful, and I never have to physically remove customers from the store. Oh my goodness. I like how this one turned out. This actually, even though it doesn't look like Pokemon related anything, this actually is a kind of my interpretation of a little spot in Pokemon Emerald. This guy during 2024, he turned out really cool. So there's some happy, positive Animal Crossing. I've had the original Animal Crossing game since it came out, but only just recently. What year was that? That was 2024. I had recently gone back and finished the bug collection and filled the whole museum. This is something I'd like to do more, like outfit of the day stuff. I tried to take a few days off from coffee. It didn't go well. Had to do a whole coffee spread. That's called being a drug addict. If you can't function without your coffee, you are an addict. This was my favorite coffee shop that actually closed at the beginning of 2025. I was very sad. This location has been taken over by another local business that relocated from a different spot, and they're actually doing really well there, so I am happy for them. Got a little Charmander hiding in here. This is how I feel when I lift weights. Oh, here's some pixel art. I was playing River City Ransom. That is a classic retro game, and I was able to take advantage of the squares on the journal. That was very fun to do. And then I got some more Pokemon. This is kind of like the old school Ghastly sprite. That bee is just like, he is not having it. Oh, this is the day we had the live rat on the shoulder Labubu day. Jesus Christ. But in a happier mood, here is my... Actually, that's not my setup. That's more of an imaginary setup, kind of based off of my TV. Because I drew an N64 there, drew a GameCube there. This is loosely based off of my current retro gaming setup. I like how these turned out. These are based on some photos I took on my break walk. I think I painted them when I was at home, though. This is also some River City Ransom art. That's also what this is from. You can buy a teddy bear and hug the teddy bear, and it will make you more powerful. There's me in Animal Crossing. There's me again with my bestie, Pee-wee. This is where I realized my ability to print out my Switch screenshots. I think this is something I'd drawn quite a few years ago, and then I guess 2022 isn't quite a few, but I don't know, maybe it is. Feels like 2020 feels like 10,000 years ago. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry it up here. I'm on 33 minutes of unedited footage here because I'm doing exactly what I said I was going to, but I'm not going to go into much detail about any of the October stuff because I did a whole video on this. Last year's Inktober was just to fill all the pages in my planner in the October section, which I had some pages that were already filled. The less we talk about this guy, the better. But I have described all of these in detail in another video. This is a very good example of testing your materials, though. I mention it every single time I share this page. You want to make sure things aren't going to bleed really bad. But we're just going to skip through October. I didn't even finish that one. I was trying to do way too much. Okay, now we are on November. I don't have a huge amount of these pages filled out for November. This was pre-birthday lunch. Had some Dave's Hot Chicken. That was a good day. Any day that we eat Dave's Hot Chicken is a good day. This is my birthday, which is why it is such a good spread here. I had to write a list of everything I did and all of the treats I ate. Oh my goodness, this is the anniversary of the first time that I ate haggis. It was canned haggis. Wasn't super great. I've had some much better haggis since then. Haggis is very tasty if you get it. Just like a proper haggis. Just don't ask what's in it. I drew that at our local zoo. I went to a zoo full of beautiful animals and I drew a frickin' tree. Why did I do that? I don't know. I did draw some lemurs. I wish I had drawn the tiger at the zoo or done a painting of him, which I have done a painting since then, but he actually passed away at the beginning of last year, so I was sad that I didn't actually draw him in person. There's my TV, my absolute piece of crap. Love it. Best purchase I've ever made. Wildly overpriced. I don't care. I almost got hit by a signboard while I was running errands that day. It was so windy. This freaking sign just took off and flew straight at me. At a split second of reaction time, and then I was like trying to set the sign back up. It was completely broken by the time it hit the grounds, and a woman was helping me with that, and she was saying like, you dodged that impressively. I think, okay, so we're on December, and I think almost all of my December pages are filled out with festive things like Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge. I remember that had to do with my Skyrim playthrough back in 2022, actually. And then I celebrated Ozzy's birthday. I started a painting of him. I have not finished it yet. I am not taking enough time to paint. That's something I am hoping to make time for later this week. The context of this was a whole weird thing, but actually no, you don't get context. You just get to absorb the art that I've created. There's my cat. I got really into doing these like hostage letter style collages. My cat was just being loud. He's just old man yells at cloud. Uh-oh, what's sticky? Oh no. Oh, that's weird. Okay. This ink, it had a little bit of a sparkle. I know I left this open so it didn't get sticky. I'm surprised that stayed sticky. That has impacted my festive Black Sabbath art that I did. It just off of this one little line on a scrap of paper. I was like, you know what? Black Sabbath in the 70s, getting ready to make their Volume 4 album. If you know, you know. I like how this turned out also. I got my wizard. It's like a handful of days that I left blank, but most of these, there's King Moon Racer. Let me see if you can, got a little bit of sparkly ink there. This ink color is called Mittens, and rather than imagining like a soft little gentle creature, I imagined this just gigantic bulky thing named Mittens. And This is what's called a pigment ink, so you have to be a little bit careful what you put into it. It will stain. I was looking at my mom's notes on all of these inks. She got them in an advent calendar, and she had noted what was a pigment ink or not. And I misread how she wrote pigment as pig meat, so that's this character's name. Mittens, aka Pigmeat. There's my festive apparel for the holiday season. Season's eatings. That was a very nice visit to a local cafe. You can see, like, really bad. This is where some of the ink was bleeding through. There's a couple of ink colors that just bleed worse than others if you go over them with watercolor. And that, I think it's like worse in this part of the journal. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're being really heavy-handed with materials. Oh, and then for Christmas Eve, I wanted to illustrate in honor of the birth of Lemmy Kilmister, our Blessed Father. Actually, I collaged in a lot of cookies and other treats for the... What Christmas year was that? I think this was 2024. Let's see, is that it? Nope, that is... I think I have the last couple days in here filled out. I always find myself, when I'm sick, I always end up watching these like motivational fitness gym videos. Like, yeah, I'm a giant lump of misery eating cake right now. Then I finished off last year, the very last page, I have drawn Goku as he appears on volume 26 of Dragon Ball Z. I felt like that's a very good way to end the planner, which I still got my last year. So that about does it for the tour. This thing is hefty. Let's see, what day? There we go. So I think the next... Okay, this is my next completely blank spot. So this upcoming year, it's going to be a gauntlet of filling all my blank spots out. Actually, what I've been doing is to hold this thing closed. I've been using this strap. This thing is bulky. My mom is actually on her second Hobonichi journal. She has a fully filled 5-year, and mine has not even finished. Mine has exceeded her full journal in bulkiness. It's kind of growing a butt. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and joining me on this journey of this incredible brick of a notebook. Comment down below what kind of things you like to journal if you are of the journaling type, the kind of thing that you like to document the most. And I do have another journaling video coming very, very soon, and I will see you in that next video.